Today on Hands On Photography, we're going to take a look at fine art photography. We're going to take a look at NIL. What the heck does NIL stand for? Well, I know most of you folks aren't sport fans like me, but there's a big role in the photography side when it comes to NIL. So I have a great guest this week, Miss Susan Lloyd, and we're going to just dive into all of that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Y'all stay tuned.
This is TWiT.
Hands On Photography is brought to you by Melissa. Poor data quality can cost organizations an average of $15 million each year. Make sure your customer data is up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records clean for free at melissa.com/twit. Hey, what's happening, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt. This is Hands On Photography here on TWiT TV. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm unbelievable as always. On this fine podcast, I like to sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer as well as a better post processor. And then sometimes I get the honor and pleasure to be able to sit down with some amazing professional photographers out there and allow them to share their tips and tricks and some of the things that they are working on. And that's what we got going on this week. But before we get into all of that, I want to just say welcome to everybody that is catching the show for the very first time. Welcome to you. Thank you for popping on in. Now go ahead and subscribe in whatever podcast application you're enjoying this on, because we are available on all of them. We got, what's that? Spotify. We got Apple Podcasts. We even have a YouTube channel. Yeah, go subscribe on YouTube. Hit the little like and subscribe and all of that good stuff over there as well. Or if you just can't quite figure out the subscription options, go to the website, twit.tv/hop. That's twit.tv/HOP. for Hands On Photography, and you'll see all the subscription options there. You'll see all of the previous episodes and show notes and all the awesome thumbnails Mr. Victor, my wonderful editor, puts together. So go ahead and check it out on the website too. All right, so all of that's out of the way. Let's get started with this week's episode and this week's conversation. All right, today's guest is someone that I've known for a handful of years now, and we met through a interesting bond, because it is football season at the time of this recording, and it's perfect timing to be able to finally get her on the show, because I love her work. I love everything that she's about, just the positive energy, positive vibes, in addition to creating some amazing photography. And this week I'm sitting down with the one and only Miss Susan Lloyd. How you be, lady?
I'm good. We are in the midst of the monsoon season in Charleston. We call it that. Pretty much all of August, it just rains. Rains and then it's hot, and then it rains and it's hot. So, but other than that, great, because, we got a special event coming up Monday evening, and I cannot wait. So, of course,
'tis the season.
It is the season, and it's time to just completely immerse ourselves in college football. Yeah.
Yes. I love that. So I've been out here in Northern California, Petaluma, California area since 2019, and football season over here has been rather interesting.
A little different.
It's not quite the same. Now, granted, I have right. It's not a religion.
It's definitely a religion in the South.
That is the perfect analogy. It's not a religion over here the way it is where I'm from and where you are. But I'm still loving it over here and enjoying being here with the wonderful NorCal residents here in the wine country. And I'm learning some things. But when football season comes around, I just know I'm pretty much on my own.
You're just the lone wolf out there, just, hanging on. I get it. I'm very, very fortunate to be around people who love football. My family, they didn't really have a choice though. I wasn't going to marry somebody who wasn't, who didn't really appreciate sports. That was, I'm not an athlete, but my dad certainly was. My brother was, and is. And I was exposed very early on to all things sports. So we carry the tradition here.
I love it. Now, for the people that are just getting introduced to you, I've mentioned you here on the show before. I think it was like episode 81-ish or something like that, because you
I need to go back and watch then.
Yeah, because you've done some crazy, awesome long exposure stuff, and you used to do some light painting stuff. And I did an episode talking about long exposure versus light painting, and your examples are just great. So I had to use you. But for people that are just trying to get introduced to you, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're over there in Carolina in what we like to call God's country. And I know you've been shooting some stuff for college football, and one team in particular that tends to wear orange and white and purple. But tell us a little bit more. Yeah. What's going on with Miss Susan?
Well, I don't want to give you, I could give you my entire life story, but I think that you probably tune out after maybe minute one. But I'll give you a little bit of my, maybe my professional background. I actually got a degree in music education. Nice. I did not, didn't pursue photography until I had my third child. And at the time, I was trying to teach voice and piano at home, but I had 3 children under the age of 5. So that was very difficult to say the least. And so, my husband and I talked about it, and I had taught school previously, but neither one of us wanted me to go back into the classroom because, we both had made that goal for me to be at home with our children until they started primary school. So I said, I've always been interested in photography. And at the time, there was no digital photography. There was no, you couldn't go on Creative Live. You couldn't go on TWiT TV. You couldn't go on Hands-On Photography. You can go on any of these places where you can get these great tutorials now. Yeah. So the way I learned was through New York Institute of Photography, which sounds really prestigious. It was a correspondence course. Okay. This is, and so literally I would get the information, I would get my assignment, and I would take the pictures, have them printed, send them to my professor, and he would mail me a cassette tape back with my critique. And for anybody who just needs a little timeline, this was 23 years ago. So think about how far we have come in this field in 23 years. Just the technological. Wait a minute. So crazy.
They had cassettes, little Maxell cassettes, and dropped it in the mail to you.
Yeah. And yes. And the first, I was shooting 35 millimeter, but then I was like, I'm going to, once I stepped up, I bought a Pentax. It was a medium format, and I can't remember the exact model, but it was heavy. Yeah. It felt like it was doing something amazing every time you hit that shutter. Yeah. And you had these big rolls of film that cost a lot of money and cost a lot of money to process. So shooting a wedding, then when I would maybe have 200 images, as compared to any time I've shot now with digital, around 4,000 that I get to cull through. It's a very different world, but the advantage, and I think you have spoken to this, is the instant feedback that you get from digital, and that teaches you more than if you have to write down all the settings you used for your film, and then you get it back, and then you go and critique. It's much more time consuming. And this way I can look directly, and say, okay, where's my histogram? What's going on? What settings am I using? I need to go back to this setting because it was a better result. So those things help us learn, but we certainly can't learn this craft without really good foundational instruction. And that applies even with digital. People think, we'll just get a really nice camera and we'll just go out and be a professional. And no, you still have got to learn basics, or you're gonna sink really fast. It's going to be a very quick death, and probably a very embarrassing one.
And that's so true. It's so true. It doesn't matter that you spent $8,000 on a camera body and
right.
another $4,000 on a lens, you can still take some pretty craptastic photos if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't quite understand. Maybe you understand the camera, but you don't quite understand, how to properly use light. All of that stuff makes a big dadgum difference, regardless of the equipment that you're using.
As much portrait work as I do, you also have to know how to direct people. You have to get them into a space where they're comfortable. And I'm not talking about just their physical comfort. They have to feel that they are safe with you as the photographer, that you are going to give them the instructions they need, but you definitely aren't going to take over and make them, little robots, because with portrait work, you want that person's personality and who they are to be what people see. And all we do as photographers is just get them into that best place for that to happen. And so there's so much more to what we do than most people are aware of. And it always kills me, you'll see one or two good pictures that somebody's taken, and they're like, oh, I'm set now, I can do this. And chances are they can, but not as quickly as they think they can.
Oh, no. This is a grind. I can't speak for you, but this is, what's this, 2022? I'm going on year 12, 13, something like that. And dude, I'm still screwing up stuff.
Oh, listen.
I'm still screwing up.
Absolutely. And I'll just think, what were you thinking when you were, and that's the other thing. Thank goodness for digital, because there are these horror stories of people who shot entire weddings and didn't realize that one little thing was off the whole time. And they get these images back on their film, from their film, and they're like, and it's not just that. I look at sports photography and concert photography from back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, well before digital.
Right.
And it blows my mind that people were able to get such incredible photos then. Right. With the technology they had available.
Right. And no instant gratification.
None. No, none at all. You just kind of hope that you really are seeing in a different way. You're seeing, I guess it's a little bit like a pilot in who's flying an airplane. Yeah. They are seeing what's happening through a radar and through their, all of their on the dash.
Avionics and stuff.
That's it. They can't really, so they're having to really rely on those things to function well and know what they mean.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you've been working on some fine art projects here. I've been stalking you on, I wasn't supposed to say stalking on Instagram. I've been following you on Instagram and Twitter.
No stalking.
And you've been working on a lot of beautiful fine art stuff. So what got you into doing that? Was this just something that you just felt you wanted to do, another exercise of creative pivot, just to sort of keep yourself refreshed and in the mode of shooting? But what got you into doing that? Or was it some requests from clients, because fine art photography is, in my opinion, could be really, really fun because it allows you to just sort of let go as a photographer. You can decide on what the scene is going to be and what the message is going to be from that scene, and just sort of just let go and just be an artist. And every now and then you can shoot some things slightly underexposed or whatever, but if it's giving you the message, then that's what you want. What got you to doing this more here recently?
I feel like I've always been interested in that, but never was able to really just kind of step back and pursue it. And then COVID happened.
That'll do
here
it.
In Charleston. And I was literally, and I mean, you and I talked a good bit during that time, but shut down, like literally shut down, could not shoot like I normally do.
Right.
Meaning I couldn't take on clients. I couldn't, I was just literally not allowed to shoot at all because it was considered non-essential. And so that is a horrible place for a creative to be initially, to be told, you can't do the thing that you know you are skilled at, that you've put a lot of time and effort into, and you're just not going to do this. And you don't know when you can do it again the way you've done it in the past. So for me, it was literally a survival thing. I thought, I do have some things I've wanted to do that I just haven't had the time to do in the past. And so this is a great time. That's when I was doing a lot of the light painting. But towards the end of that time where I wasn't able to shoot anymore, I had lined up a few people who were willing to let me work with them. And I have a porch that I shot some of them on. And I already had the concepts. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the message that we wanted to put into those images and what I was trying to convey. And I was able to, to collaborate with my subjects and say, first of all, are you okay with this? Are you all right with this specific message? Right. And then give them a vision of what I wanted to do. And I think that was really super important, is to have that idea of where you're going. That doesn't mean nothing's going to change from point A to point B, but it does mean that I know exactly how I want to pursue this, what it's going to look like from a technical standpoint. And I would communicate that to them. And if they were on board, then it was very much, okay, we're going to let go and do this. And nice. I still love to do that. I have several pieces that I've been working on that just kind of get on the back burner sometimes because we just, all the things that keep the lights on have to be done first.
Right. Right.
But there's still several of those that I'm working on. There's still several that I want to eventually, even get the base images for. And so I'm really thankful that I was pushed in that direction. I don't know when I would have pursued it on my own, even though I wanted to. I just don't know when that would have happened. So as awful as COVID was for everybody, there were a couple of things that came out of it that were positive. And for me, that was one of them. Yeah.
Now, going into this, or now that you're pretty much in the middle of it or still sort of going through it, what has been the biggest challenges with this new undertaking of getting into fine art and creating fine art?
The biggest challenge is literally knowing exactly what I want. And once I've shot and used the lighting that I knew I needed to use, was to be able to go into Photoshop now with my very organic training, self-instruction in Photoshop, and figure out, okay, you want to do this, you want it to look like this. How are you going to do this? Because that's where things like what you do, just your segment on layering and how layers work. I know that seemed maybe to you to be kind of a basic thing, but man, that was hugely helpful. It's hugely helpful just to have somebody demonstrate and say, okay, this works. And now I can expand that. So that was literally the biggest challenge, was trying to figure out how to get the effect that I wanted, to get the brush strokes that I wanted, and to put it all together in a way that made sense. So, and it's still a challenge. Ant, do you know anybody who has mastered Photoshop completely? Because I just want to sit at their feet. It's so vast, and there's
I will say this. I think I know of one that is like right there at being mastery. Okay. One person. Okay.
And this program has been around forever.
And it's because they've been around since the program's been around. That's the only reason. They've been around since the program come out, and they've spent time with Adobe working through it. So actually, no, it's two people. It's Bert Monroy, and the second one is my dear friend who I love, Miss Lisa Carney. They've been there from day one. Nobody else can really say that. Really say that, because there's so much in it, just like you said.
There is so, and there's more than one way to to skin a cat, in that program. There's so many different ways to arrive at the point you want to get to. And so, you can really go down a rabbit hole if you start watching tutorials.
Yep.
Because one artist will do it this way and the other one does it this way. And you're like, wait, I didn't know. There were so many options.
Didn't you figure out, well, I can do it my way too. And just taking a combination of the two. And oh boy, I love that.
Very definitely.
Now, I want to show off some of your images, if you don't mind, and just sort of pick your brain with this fine art stuff. Because again, I love the concept of fine art photography just because of the freedom. It's just, you don't necessarily have to be perfect at times. Right. When you go on a photo shoot to do corporate headshots, you better nail them.
You better know what you're doing.
Absolutely. You better get that message across that this is a professional headshot. You want to shoot a wedding, you better nail a wedding because there's no do-overs in weddings.
No do-overs.
But with fine art, you get to have a little bit of flexibility. So let me switch my screen here and I'm going to pull up some of your images here. Classic portrait. Just classic portrait. And this one rubbed me a good bit because I recently spoke about a portrait of some Black folks taken by a world-renowned photographer, Miss Annie Leibovitz. Yes. And yes, I called her out. But yet I pull up this image of these beautiful Black women here. Boy, look at how well they're lit. Look at how beautiful their skin is looking in this image.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I always tell my subjects it helps to start with a gorgeous subject,
Yeah.
That helps. That helps tremendously. And this beautiful woman in this image, she and I met, I want to say about 12, 13 years ago. And she's a makeup artist. And at the time she was doing some modeling as well. And we met on one of these things where there was somebody in Charleston who used to organize these, just bring models in and bring photographers in, and there'd be a certain location. We'd all go there and we just kind of divide up and do these fun. And it was so much fun. And that's how she and I met. And we really connected then. And as life progressed and she already had a son. And then she got pregnant with her little girl, and then she brought in another little girl. I don't want to mess it up. I know she told me that I'm not gonna. I just know that both of these little girls are her daughters, and one is by birth, and the other was adopted in. And I wanted to do this Mother's Day thing, and I thought of her, and I thought, she's such a great human being to begin with, and these little girls, I've been around them and they are just joy, So she was all for it. She said, let's do it. And what I covered them with is a curtain that I got when I was thrifting. And I knew that color would be beautiful on her. And this is lit just a single soft box, an octagonal box. And positioning all three of these women, or these, well, they're not all women, but positioning them so that you don't shadow in the wrong place, you don't cut somebody's face off. I had to be aware of that. But I just love to shoot these dramatic portraits. And this turned out to be something that, beyond what I envisioned. And so I was really, really thrilled with it. And you spoke about skin tone. I'm not sure when it was that I became very, very, very sensitive to this. It was several years ago. And it may have just been a friend I was talking to. And I just remember saying to me, people of color don't want to be orange in photographs. Right. They also don't want to be gray.
That's right. That's right. Preach it.
They want their skin tone to be their skin tone. And they also don't want to be a lighter shade than they normally are. And I thought, that makes so much sense. And, obviously these three subjects have gorgeous skin tone. Why would I change it? Why would I want anything to change that? So I've always been really, really sensitive to that for everybody. I get really disturbed when I'm editing and I feel like, wow, I just made a Casper out of that person. And that's not who they are.
Exactly. And it goes both ways.
It really does. And you don't want people to be pink. And you don't want, so there's all this, and I see this so often when I look at other pictures and I think, is that really that person's skin tone, or you were just kind of hopeful, and so I try really, really hard to make sure that I'm paying attention to that. So yeah, it was very important to get that right in the shot.
Now, again, as I'm looking at this image, it's the three ladies here, and they're under a covering, if you will. And you said it's a curtain.
Yeah.
And her hair, the mother's hair is draped just on top of the curtain, coming from the back of her head to the front of the image. And you have, like you said, you have the key light. Looks like it's camera right there, and it's angled down. It's just casting a really, really nice soft light, giving you really soft shadows on their face to help shape their face, but not be too contrasty to make it look rugged and hard. This is a really, really soft, loving image. My question to you about the actual covering there, not that it's curtain, because that matters not to me. Really I like the idea that it's all three of them under one. Was that on purpose? Was that part of your thought process to say, you know what, I want all three of them together under this one? What brought you to that?
It absolutely was. Again, this was a mother-daughter thing. And the unity is really what I wanted to show. My daughter and I are very, very close. And I feel like, and that was another reason that I felt like this family in particular, because I know her dedication and commitment to her children, especially to her daughters. And I really wanted to show that unity and that connection between the three of them. And it was so important to use that one covering that that probably took longer to get settled and in place than anything else, because it would slip and we would pin it and then it would be wrong. And so, but that was very, very important to do that, because that unity is, and that just the relationship, the older I get, Ant, the more I realize that the one thing that is more important than anything is relationship. And our relationships that we want to show through our photography, those are the things that 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, even further, people can look back and see that relationship. They will, that will still come through.
Yep. I love this. I can't really say nothing else on this one. It's just, it got my attention when you first sent over the batch of images, and I was like, yep, I'm going to talk about this one. Now let's move into another image here. I actually have a couple. All right. So again, we're talking fine art. We're talking, a message that's being presented here. What we have here is this young lady is holding, it looks like a ball of light source in her hand. It's just glowing in her hands, and it's just glowing up towards her mouth, her neck, and face. And then it looks like you have one other light off, again, camera right. But then there's the background. You have this soft bouquet happening in the background of the same color of the lights that she's holding. Walk us through this, because this is a bit of a whole dreamy feel going on, and she's staring right at the camera, but it's not like a "I'm going to get you" stare. It's more of a just it's welcoming. It's not something to scare the crap out of me like some people do. But walk me through this image.
Okay, so this lovely subject. Oh my goodness! I shot her sister's wedding. And when it was time for her to get her senior portraits done, she reached out and we did those. And I thought, man, this girl is so good in front of the lens and in front of the camera. And I really wanted to use her for several things, because clearly she photographs beautifully and she's fun to work with. And so this was, I love I love lights. I want them in so many I love that, there's beautiful bird out lights in the background that just kind of add another dimension. And this shot, from a technical standpoint, she is actually holding, this is when those little fairy lights were they just kind of come on this thing. There's that one copper wire and that little bitty lights are all over. You can put it, they're battery operated. So man, they're easy to use. Yep. And so it was really, we just kind of bundled it up and put it in our hands. And then behind her, she is, I'm going to say she's probably 15, 20 feet, maybe further, in front of a pallet wall that my husband built not too long after we moved to this house. And then we planted, and it's got ivy on it. And so I had strung lights all through that, not necessarily for the shoot. They were just kind of there.
They were just there.
This would be great to use as her backdrop for this particular image. And she, to me, has always kind of just radiated. Anytime I've been around her, there's this sweetness and this radiance. And like you said, she's got great connection with the camera, but it's not overwhelming. And that is very much who she is. People are drawn to her, but she doesn't take over. And I wanted to show that. I wanted, just to be 20 years old again and to be this radiant and young and all of this promise. And so to surround her kind of with this light that's on her face, but then also behind her. Now I could have gone a direction where we really make this high key, but I feel like we see high key a lot. And I wanted to do something that wasn't necessarily that we really noticed what was going around her, and that was a part of the image. It wasn't just lighting the image. And so that's why, this background is much darker. We were outside. So, I was stopping this thing down and making sure that I was not getting a lot of that ambient light in as well. But I really wanted that to be just the focus is just this beautiful radiant glow that she has.
Absolutely love it. And you crushed it. You crushed it.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I like high key, but low key portraits are definitely my favorite. And I don't know I guess it's because I'm a bit of a weirdo when it comes to the way I shoot. If you look at any of my images that I've shot in the past, they tend to have a certain theme, and they're usually on the cooler temperature side. Sometimes they're usually darkish. But that's just my mood. So it tends to come out, unless if it's something that I'm shooting for an assignment, then I'm trying to hit the marks of the assignment. But if I'm just shooting for me, it tends to fall more towards the low key side of things, just because I like that. I mean, heck, look at my screen right now. I got one key light right here and a really dark background and one little practical light.
I was going to say,
I was just pushing it with that.
Love it right there. There it is. We don't even have to look for a definition of low key. There it is. You're demonstrating. And I don't know what I'm demonstrating today. I was just like all the crevices and wrinkles and cracks didn't show. That was my goal.
Oh, you're fine.
That was it.
Oh gosh. Now let's look at one more here. Let me see. Wow. Now this one here, I remember seeing the file name, and the file name says Hope. And what we have on the screen for our audio listeners is we have a woman she's sort of like crouched down, or maybe she's seated. I can't really tell because I can't see her legs, but she has her hands in a bit of a praying pose, almost as if she's getting ready to say namaste. And she's looking up into the left of the frame, looking up and out kind of thing, not looking at the camera. And there's just a little bit of light in the background that's just barely light in the background. You don't get a lot of detail. You just know that there's some type of light casting on it. And again, her gaze is going right past that area. And when you see this and then you see the file name, you're like, oh, I get it. Hope. It's a bit of a hopeful look. Now, granted, she is off in the distance in this shot. It's not a real close up shot, which I thought was perfectly fitting, because when you think about hope, most of the time it's not like things that you hope for happen right then and there. They tend to happen a little bit further down the road in time. Again, off in the distance, off looking away. I love this. Please walk us through this, because I can't describe it as well as you, I'm sure.
This is something, and the other, there's I think there are 5 images in this series. This may be one of the things I am most proud of, because of how it came together and how it turned out. And my subject, who is an artist in her own right, she is a dancer, and one of the most, I love to watch her dance. She's incredibly graceful and just a very beautiful soul. And this was right, again, during COVID, but that wasn't all we were dealing with at the time. There were so many things going on with us as a society and culturally. I think I had just been to Clemson when they didn't call it a protest. They called it, I believe it was a March for Equality at Clemson. And so many of the football players and basketball players were there, and so many people came. And I had already had this idea. I'd already reached out to Jordan, my subject. But after being there, it became even more important to do this. I was not about to assume, first of all, that I knew what it felt like to be a person of color. And so what I wanted to do with Jordan was, because she is a dancer and I knew she would just knock this out of the park, and she did, was to say, Jordan, here are the words that we're going to express. And one of them was suffocated. One was invisible. One, and then this last one being hope. And my mind is blanking now on the other 2, but these were all done in a very small room. I don't have a studio, so we were in a very small room. It was as dark as I could possibly get it. This is light painted. So Jordan really had her work cut out for her, because not only did she have to think, what pose should I come up with? She also had to hold it. She had to hold this pose, because, when you're light painting, you do have this open shutter, and you are literally illuminating as you go. And we did several frames. I'm not going to say that this is one frame. This was, I'm pretty sure I had to pull in maybe a body part from this frame and one from here and put it together. But as far as how it was lit, how it was put together, what I wanted to convey was this idea, pretty much like you said, that we are always looking towards hope. We're rarely looking behind. We don't look behind us for hope, even we can look for inspiration there. But for hope, we have to look ahead. And very many times in our life, the things that we hope for are the things that only we hope for. And so we feel a little isolated in that hope. But then we have a situation where her isolation in the shot was not to necessarily communicate her feeling of solitude and isolation, but an entire group of people and the solitude that they were felt in there, but they were not allowing that to dampen the hope. And the hope is what you look for. It's what you cling to. And, my faith informs a lot of what I do. And so I don't want to get into a lot of that, because not everybody's in that same place. And I completely respect that. But even the color toning that we used is symbolic. It is that purple, which is royalty. And I honestly believe that every human being that has been created has the DNA of royalty because of who their creator is. And I wanted that to be also what was conveyed in this. So if you could see the source images for them, I'll have to send them to you at some point. You'll be like, from this to this. And you can imagine, it probably took her a long time to get there, because it was, like I said, dark room, we didn't get to move any furniture out. Like it was something. But
that's just a credit to you.
I loved it. I loved it. It was challenging, but not impossible. It was something that meant a lot to her and to me. Mm-hmm. So we were really, I was very happy with how she did. She just embraced it completely. And then to be able to arrive where I wanted to go was really nice.
Wow. I absolutely love that image. Now we're going a little bit long. I just realized that, and I hate it when that happens, but that's okay. We're going to power through. We're going to power through. Mr. Victor. And, don't hurt me, Mr. Victor. I'm sorry.
I'll tighten it up a little bit, man. I promise. I'll tighten it up. I know. It's all good. We're going to get together and we're just like, well, let's just talk.
That's the thing. There is one more here that I want to look at on the fine art side of things. All right. You just talked about doing some compositing in the previous image. Wait a minute. Are you telling me you took your Canon R5 up under the water or what?
Yes.
What the heck's going on here? I mean,
we went out to, let's see, where's a great place I could have taken this? We went to Bali.
Yeah.
And we were in that beautiful blue ocean. No, we were not in Bali. We were on my back porch. Yes, this is a composite image. There are a lot of licensed images that we can use from Adobe, which is phenomenal to be able to use those. And I knew exactly, kind of what that image. And you start to Google. You start to go on Adobe and look at underwater images, and you're going to be overwhelmed very quickly. So it was
Adobe stock has a lot of stuff in it, a ton of stuff.
And it was a little hard, to find exactly what I wanted. But once I found it, it matched where I wanted to go with this. And again, this was something that I knew where I wanted to go before we started. This young lady, also somebody I've known for a while. She was a classmate of my daughter and has been very open about her struggle with anxiety and depression. And so I said, I would love to convey that you have felt this, but you are, you may have felt that you were drowning at one point, but you are not drowning. And you are, it's another, just a little shade of difference between our hope before image to this one, where there's got to be hope or you don't continue to go forward. But there's also a triumph with her because she is, coming up from the depths of where she was and what imprisoned her. And that's the reason for the gown that she is wearing, which is another Adobe stock. I wanted to do, these beautiful ink clouds and water. You know what I'm talking about, where you drop the ink in. It's just gorgeous. And I wanted to do that on my own, but that was like, do I really want to tackle that right now? I mean, one of these days I will, and I have my own stock, but I still had to manipulate this to make it look like a gown that she was wearing. There's a lot of pieces and parts in this one too. There's a lot of pieces.
I love this. I mean, what we're looking at, and again, for our audio listeners, we have a young lady who is under the depths of the sea. She's in the water, and about halfway up the frame, you can see the surface of the water, and there's a kiss of sunlight coming from the surface of the water. But down below her, you see the deep dark blues and purples and a little magenta in there, just to show the whole temperature of being dark and cold and troublesome. But then again, you get that contrast up at the upper part of the frame of the warm, inviting golden light coming from the sun. So I clearly see that this is someone that, yes, at the time they are feeling like they're drowning with depression or other mental health concerns, but there's still hope, and they're going towards the light and being able to free themselves of those mental health concerns there. And this is absolutely beautiful. And again, people that are looking for stock images, you can find a bunch of stock images. She uses Adobe stock. I use Adobe stock amongst other things. And you can just sit down in your favorite compositing app of choice and put some images together like this and really send a beautiful message like what Miss Susan has done. This is just lovely.
Thank you.
Freaking love it.
That.
Now, we're going to look at one more discussion here, but I want to take a few minutes now to thank a fine sponsor of the show. So I'm just going to pause you there, Miss Susan. I'll be right back to you. But this week, we're going to take a shout out to the folks over at Melissa. So look, did you know that poor data quality can cost organizations an average of $15 million a year? So if you're a small to medium sized business, we know every last cent counts. The longer poor quality data stays in your system, the more losses you can pretty much accumulate over time. So to ensure your business is successful, your customer information needs to be accurate. Melissa is a leading provider of global data quality and address management solutions. There's another side to this inaccurate data, okay? It's customer service. So if you have someone's address information wrong when they call up your business, they're already frustrated. And then you're going to tell them, oh, yeah, your address is in Tampa, Florida. And they yell at you like, no, I don't live in Tampa, Florida. I live in Yonkers, New York. Boy, I'm going to tell you, things are going to go from bad to worse really quickly. Y'all need to check out Melissa's cloud-based data cleansing and enrichment tool. It's really, really easy to use. And you got 5 steps to do this. So first, you just upload your spreadsheet and just copy and paste the tabs into the second tab. Next, you want to select the data quality service and then just click the next button. And then step 3, you want to map the input fields. Step 4, you want to select the output fields and then append that data. Okay. And then step 5 is just hit process. Boom, it's done. Melissa has got you squared away and getting your data cleaned up. Melissa's data matching will help eliminate clutter and duplicates. This is going to reduce your postage and mailing costs. You know, why you're going to send 2 packages to the same address? Just send one. Okay. Batch address cleansing. Yes, they offer that. So you can process an entire address list for accuracy and completion. Name verification. Now, this is going to allow you to parse and standardize first and last names for personalization. For example, my legal name is not Ant, but you could personalize it and say, hey, send it as Ant because that's what he likes because he's a very important customer. Next, you can profile and analyze your data to improve its quality over time. Then there's email verification. You can remove up to 95% of bad email addresses from your database because we all know people are just perfect when it comes to putting in their email address in these different services. Yes, that is sarcasm, folks. Melissa's flexible deployment options offer different platforms to suit any preference, business size, or budget. Melissa also has their new lookups apps available on iOS and Google to search addresses, names, all at your fingertips. Melissa continually undergoes independent security audits to reinforce its commitment to data security, privacy, and compliance requirements. Yes, they are SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR compliant. Good on you, Melissa. Melissa's data quality suite and clean suite speaks for itself, but once again, they were named the leader by G2. Melissa is experienced and independent and has 37 years of data quality expertise, which explains why more than 10,000 businesses know them as the, quote, address experts. And if you sign up for a service level agreement, you get 24/7 world-renowned support from their global support center. Okay, now, this is what you got to do. Make sure you get your customer contact data up to date. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. Again, that's melissa.com/twit. Make sure y'all use that link so they know that we sent you over to check them out. And we thank Melissa for supporting good old hands-on photography. All right, so now we're going to take a look at some images from Miss Susan here because, again, this is the start of football season, and there's been some interesting discussions around the football season. It's got nothing to do with the game itself, and it's this concept called NIL, name, image, and likeness. Now, you have been contributing to the Clemson football team and covering, heck, not just the football team, some of the other stuff going on there at the university, providing images for the various services there. And NIL has come up and has been, I guess you can say, controversial for some people. I'll just go ahead and get this out the way. As a former athlete, I have no problem with NIL because I remember the times when being an NCAA athlete, I could not work. It was against the rules for me to work. But yet my mom couldn't afford to send me money to go get a quarter pounder with cheese or something like that. It was up to me to just keep eating peanut butter sandwiches if I wanted a snack. Or better yet, I was able to get an on-campus job, but I was limited to working 4 hours a week. And I was only able to earn the minimum wage at the time, which was $4.25 an hour. So when people start to just rail on NIL and how these kids shouldn't be getting paid and all of that, oh, I got a bone to pick with them. But all right, I got that out of my system. I just need
to. And I'm right there with you. I promise. I have learned that many times people begin to criticize things because they don't have a clue.
Yeah,
they don't have a clue. It's not because they don't have a clue, but yeah, they just don't understand. The restrictions that come with being a NCAA athlete. It's just, there's so much that those guys have to be aware of and keep up with. And the fact that they are now able to earn money from their name, image, or likeness is a tremendous boost. Now, we're seeing both ends of the spectrum, clearly.
Yep.
We're seeing where it's a little more.
Some of us a bit out there, I'll admit that.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, it'd just be great to step on foot on a campus somewhere and be like, well, 5 million, there you go, you're good to go. But that's another discussion for another time. Yep. But then we see, these kids that are actually looking at NIL as a learning opportunity as well as an opportunity to put money in their bank account, but they are learning how to use their name, image, and likeness. They are learning what brands fit their brand, and they're learning exactly how to express their brand. What is my brand? Like, what is it I want the world to see and know about me that's going to be consistent for as long as I'm in the public eye and beyond, really. But that is a lot for someone who is 18 to 22 to figure out. I have a clue what was going on in my life at 18. And so it's a lot for them to deal with. And, I think it's great because it, just like anything else, it can be great or it can be very detrimental. It is really refreshing to see these kids who use it and their schools who encourage them to use it in a way that is going to help them in the long run. Really. Right.
I love that. And you have had the pleasure to work with one of the Clemson football players in particular, a pretty dadgum talented wide receiver by the name of Mr. Beaux Collins. Now, I'm not asking you to give me the whole skinny on that, but how did that come about? I mean, you just went and pitched him, say, hey, I'm a badass photographer. I can make you look good. Let's do something. How did it work?
If only I were so bold.
Come on.
There is now. Clemson has begun something that is called an NIL exchange, which I'm really excited about because it allows me to put myself out there in front of these athletes and let them see what I do and what I can do for them. But this connection with Beaux actually came, kind of out of the blue, but it was also via Twitter. His parents, Beaux is from California and his parents still live there. And his father reached out to me and said, Beaux got his first NIL contract and it was with Mellow Mushroom there in Clemson, South Carolina. He said, we're going to be there. He wants to meet people and we would love for you to come and shoot images that night. And I'm like, okay. And so I said, along with that, why don't he and I also kind of collaborate together and come up with images that are specific to Beaux, that are not necessarily about Mellow Mushroom, that are not necessarily about Clemson football. Because at the time, these students could not use any school logo. They could use school colors. They couldn't use the practice facility. They couldn't use a stadium. There have been some changes that will allow that, still restricted on certain things. But at the time, he didn't have that. And so I said, let's just really focus on you. And Beaux,
because that's what makes sense. This is their brand. This is his brand. Beau's brand, right?
His brand. It's not Clemson's brand. It's not my brand. It is Beau's brand. And knowing that he probably did not set foot on campus with this entire creative vision already, because again, 18, what do we know at 18? I felt that I was going to have to help him in some way, kind of get to the point where we're like, yeah, this is who you are. And I just came up with this really quick little survey that I sent him. And it was more about his personality than anything, like, questions like, would you rather be in front of a lot of people, or are you happier when you're just with a small group of friends? Do you consider the way you dress a part of who you are as a person, or you don't really care? You're just going to wear whatever's clean. So things like that helped me kind of shape the direction we wanted to go in. And Beaux is a business major at Clemson. And so very definitely he wanted that to be expressed in these images as well. So we did his freshman year. We fast forward to this year, which is still blows my mind that Beaux still has so much time at Clemson, and I'm so excited about it. But he, in the meantime, got a sponsorship from Breitling Watches. And, being the little non-brand person that I am, when I say brand, I mean, like, I'm not much of a label person. I just don't pay much attention. I didn't know that Breitling was what Breitling is. Yeah. And then when I looked it up, I was like, whoa, this is great. And, they had reached out, not Breitling, but Beaux and his family had reached out again and said, hey, let's go for year 2. And so we wanted to include Breitling. We wanted to include Priority Sports, which is Beau's agent right now. Yep. They are representing him. And of course, we wanted to represent Beaux. And so that's how we kind of came up with the ideas that we wanted for these shots.
You have to look at it from the aspect of, all right, we got the brand of the people that are supporting him financially, and we have his personal brand. And this first image here, this is, again, you nailed it. I'm looking at it and I see, yes, he's out in the cityscape, if you will. He's got the one key light hitting him off, looks like camera left. He's standing in front of a car. He's in a suit and tie, just looks perfectly posed and modeled for being a business person, someone that's about business and professional, if you will. Yes. But yet I can also see the watch, that fine detail right there. I could see the watch. So you as a photographer, you deserve kudos for that. But I just wanted to show this image and show what it takes for people to understand, all right, yes, you have your personal brand, but then if you wanted to work with brands, you need to make sure that brand is being represented in the images that you're putting out there. Walk us through setting up this shot here.
Well, this is actually on the campus at Clemson University, which that is the brand new, I think they opened it maybe in 2020, the business facility there, which when they were building it, we're like, oh, this thing is right on top of the road. And it seemed a little off. And sadly, they had to take down the Clemson house in order to put it there. But now you look at it and it just looks so good and so sophisticated and such beautiful, clean lines. And I said, Beaux, we have got to use that a little differently. We used it his freshman year, but then let's use it a little differently this time. And so those are the lights that naturally, that they have on in the evenings. And so we had a spot picked out, and Bowman Field, which is right there,
I know all about that.
Just look right over on the left across the street from this business. So we're literally right there at Bowman across the street. The sprinklers came on.
You gotta love it when that happens.
Yeah. And I was using, oh goodness, that was an LED panel that I was using. And so, it was a mad dash to get everything out of the path of this water, to move Beaux, to move the car, to move everything. So we had to reset from our original image. And I'm, thankfully, miraculously had a paper towel roll in my car. So I was like drying everything off and crossing my fingers and thinking, Lord, please don't let anything have no water seeped in. And so, we had to reset and we started over. But Beaux, let me tell you, he is such a joy to work with because he is flexible. He's very adaptable. He's very confident, but he is not a prima donna.
Right.
And sometimes I kind of think, you should be a little more of a prima donna, but he's not. I mean, it's just not in his nature. But he still has that confidence about him.
As a former ball player, we like to call that coachable.
Yes. And that's a great trait. And, you and I could talk about Clemson football and Clemson sports in general, but one of the things they do look for is these coachable players.
Being coachable. And, you can be the best of the best, but are you coachable to be able to take criticism and instruction to help enhance your game? And he's clearly that.
It's a beautiful blend of confidence and humility. It really is. You have to be humble enough to say, I don't know it all, but you also have to be confident enough to say that I can get there. And I will get there if I'm a sponge and let all these people instruct me. He totally just nailed everything. If there was a mistake in that session, it was not Beau's fault. It was totally mine. He did great. And the watch, like you did mention it, again, detail. I will get so caught up in everything else and paying attention to his face and his body that there are several frames where you don't see the watch. Again, not Beau's fault, but that was pretty crucial. Have that watch visible.
I'm looking at this other image, and again, he's a subject matter as well, but my eye immediately goes down to the watch because of the way you have it lit. And even if I'm not even sure if you even pulled it up in post processing like a selective adjustment, but
actually I turned it down some. I had to subdue that light a little bit. The light on the, looking at the photo, the light on the right-hand side, that was a lot of reflection on his car. That is his car too, by the way. He laughed. He said, you sure you want to use my car? I said, yes, absolutely. Your car's
it works. It totally works for this shot.
It works wonderfully. I had to really kind of tone down those highlights. Did not have to bring up the watch. I toned it down. This is a dual light. We have the one LED panel, which you can kind of tell is off to his right and a little bit low. And then behind him is another panel light, which is pretty much just illuminating behind him, illuminating the top of the car and right behind him, just so we get that separation. Yeah,
it's light in his hair a little bit, and it's light in his shoulder, just to sort of break him up from the back.
Right, just to give the separation from those dark colors back there. It's very easy to lose dark hair. I lose mine all the time. We can take that many ways, but so I really had to pay attention to that, and it's that knowing where you want to go. You have to know how to get there as well, and you're going to have to tweak. You're never going to get it right off the bat if it's something that's complex. But at least if you know where you're going, you have a fighting chance.
That's right. Now this one here, I love the concept of it with the whole rear view mirror. Again, the watch is there in the subject, but it's still captivating with having that mirror there and capturing his eyes in the rear view mirror. Just enough interest to say, all right, yep, this is a pretty cool watch, but what is he looking at? This is so well done. And this is still done at the same location, it looks like, right?
Yes. He was actually looking at me because I was in the back of the car. I was in the back seat. this is, and there's a little Photoshop magic going on here too, because I was using such a shallow depth of field. I think I had my 50. Yeah, I just have a little 51.8 the RF 51.8 that I was using for this, which I have found to be an incredible lens for the amount of money that it costs. It's really amazing. And I'm pretty sure I had it at 1.8. And so it was going to be, there's no way I was going to get both his face and his hand watching focus. So I did have to pull a couple of images together to get this. But, again, it was just a matter of knowing that ahead of time, knowing that I was going to have to change my focusing point as I was shooting. Because if I didn't do that, that's the one thing I tell people a lot. And, Photoshop and other processing software is getting better at this. But the one thing you really can't fix is focus. You're going to, you can get very close, but if you don't get your focus correct, that's the best way to blow a shot, you know? And so I had to think through that to get that shot. And then, of course, to make sure that the watch dial was visible and it, we saw that. But I really, again, all I had to do was give those some minor instructions, and he just took it and ran with it. And we had a lot of fun. And, I told him, I said, for as long as you live, you're going to remember that we got rained out by the sprinkler system. And then, ADHD over here left the lens in the back seat of his car. So I'm getting ready to leave the next morning. I'm like, oh, no, it wasn't even that. That next morning, I was like, oh my goodness, where's my lens? Maybe I left it out on Bowman. Maybe we had shot earlier at a different location. It was 1:30 in the morning. And what am I doing? I am traipsing around looking for my lost lens.
At Bowman Field. Oh,
and
Lord.
then at the Dykes, which is very dark. And had this not been in Clemson, South Carolina, I don't know that I would have done that. I probably would have, because it was a lens. But, sacrifice everything. You got to get that lens back. I don't want to buy another one.
Get the glass. Get the glass.
But, there I was traipsing around. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I just left it in his car. And sure enough, I got a text from him the next morning. So, do you need this? And it was a picture of him holding my lens. I'm like, yeah, that's mine.
Gosh,
that's very typical of me. I have left pieces of myself in so many places. It's happened. Clemson football field probably has all of my lens caps. And
all the caps are down there. I guarantee your lens caps are down there. That's like a given. Someone, I was on a recent shoot, and my lens cap was left on the table there, and they were yelling, "Oh, don't forget your cap!" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm just sort of used to buying them every month, so no worries."
Poor little things. I just wonder, where do they all end up? They just get left behind.
Yeah, it is what it is. I don't know a photographer that keeps up with all their lens caps.
Yeah.
Not
I've left
one.
Batteries. I've left chargers. I've left lens caps. And my husband's like, Susan, why don't you just keep a stock list in your camera bag? I said, there's time for that.
No,
I mean, it
come
makes
on.
sense, but am I really going to sit there and go through everything? And I know me too well.
Oh, man. Miss Susan, this has been unbelievable. I'm so glad I finally got you to sit down.
Yay! I know. This was great. I
just took a while.
All week. That's okay. It took a while, but that's okay. I'm so thankful for our friendship. I'm thankful that you felt I was somebody who could be on your show. I mean, I feel like important now.
You're a heck of a photographer, and you're quite inspirational. So you have a great story. It's a perfect fit for this audience and my community. I'm really, really glad you took the time out. Before we let you go, is there anything that you'd like to plug? Something that people can follow and take a look at, or
Sure. I am the world's worst marketer. I can come up with brands all day long and help other people, but when it comes to me, not all that great. However, I do post to my Instagram, which is at Susan _Lloyd _photo. Oh, I hope I said that right.
Well, the thing is, let me tell you something. I'm pretty tight with an editor named Mr. Victor. He'll just have it up on the screen
That's
right now, and then I'll put it in the show notes too.
I am on Instagram. Yes, I am on Twitter. I get a little sassy sometimes on Twitter, but it's fun, and I do all I can to keep it positive. And it is a mix. It is not a strictly photography Twitter account. It is going to be everything. It's going to be me. It's going to be football. It's going to be Clemson sports, all the above. So those two are where I'm most active. I do have a Facebook page, Susan Lloyd Photography. Mm-hmm. And eventually, maybe one of these days, I'll have a YouTube channel. I don't know. But if you want to see Clemson football photos this season, I will be shooting for Clemson Sports Talk. Mm-hmm. Okay, Clemson Sports Talk. That is an online publication run by Walton Swan. He's phenomenal. I
know Swanee. Swanee is actually a friend of the TWiT network.
Right. He's a great guy. And
I know Swanee.
I feel like I've found my publication home when it comes to, the sports, the sideline photography that I do. But yeah, so if you want to see those, definitely follow him and look for those galleries. David Brooms is the other photographer. And I think we're trading off the games. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to go down, but I do know September 10th, I will be in Death Valley and I will be shooting that game, that first home game. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, gosh.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Man, I really wish I can get back to a game sometime soon.
Yeah, you need to.
I need it badly.
Definitely need to. And you need to do that. And just say, hey, Susan, I'm on the way. And we'll just, oh my gosh, we'll have a blast.
Definitely. I would definitely come find you.
Yeah. I'm usually sweaty and disgusting, so it would have to be before the game, not after.
I can live with it. It's all good. Sweet. All right, Miss Susan, thank you again for joining me. I really do appreciate your time and appreciate all the knowledge you dropped this week.
I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for this week's show. Holy cow. Yes, I ran a little bit long, but I think it's going to be quite all right. I really enjoyed the chat with her and the knowledge that she dropped and just a bit of inspiration. We can all use that, especially, dealing with limitations that the COVID world has brought us these days. Basically, just get your camera and go shoot. Doesn't matter. Just pick it up and go shoot. I appreciate her continuing to push that message and still be able to create some beautiful daggum art. All right. If you have questions, comments, feedback, you can send that stuff to me a couple different ways. First, you can just shoot an email to hop@twit.tv. Again, that's hop@twit.tv. That's for questions about episodes, about the photographers I've spoken to. If you want me to critique an image, you can do that. If you want me to critique an image on the air, I'm fine with doing that as well. Just make sure you put, say that I have your consent to use your images on the show. Or you can give me a follow over on the social media platforms. Tag me over on Instagram. I am Ant_Pruitt on Instagram. Following me over there doesn't seem to matter because they're not pushing my content to my followers for whatever reason. I don't know why, but you can tag me Ant_Pruitt. And then if you want to hang out on the Twitterverse, I am Ant_Pruitt on Twitter as well. All right, folks, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for your continued support. Please continue to tell other folks about hands-on photography. Please continue to hit that share and like and leave the comments and the ratings and all of that. So Apple Podcasts will continue to show me some love and support so we can keep on growing this show. All right. Thank you again. I will catch you all next time. So safely create and dominate and go watch a Clemson football game. Y'all take care.
Hey, I'm Rod Pyle, editor of Ad Astra Magazine, and each week I'm joined by Tariq Malik, the editor-in-chief over at Space.com, in our new This Week in Space podcast. Every Friday, Tariq and I take a deep dive into the stories that define the new space age. What's NASA up to? When will Americans once again set foot on the moon? And how about those samples from the Perseverance rover? When are those coming home? What the heck has Elon Musk done now? In addition to all the latest and greatest in space exploration, we'll take an occasional look at bits of spaceflight history that you probably never heard of, and all with an eye towards having a good time along the way. Check us out on your favorite podcatcher.